Ozzy Osbourne and the Bat Incident. It's hard to think of a frontman who's had as much of an impact on heavy music as Ozzy Osbourne. And although his history stretches back to the 60s with Black Sabbath, there's one story in particular that has defined his career as a performer. In 1982, during a performance in Des Moines, Iowa, an obscure object was thrown onto the stage near Ozzy. He picked up what he thought looked like a fake toy bat, so naturally, he stuck the head in his mouth and chomped down, only to realize it was real after he tasted blood. The moment led to Ozzy getting painful rabies shots, but also catapulted Ozzy into the spotlight, sparking endless debates and constant attention throughout his career. There were times when he would embrace it, but there were also times when he was just plain tired of hearing about it. But for fans, it's hard to imagine Ozzy without the Bat Incident. Over 40 years later, the story lives on and was even commemorated with a plush toy bat on the anniversary of the momentous event. So while Ozzy may always be known as the Prince of Darkness, he'll also always be remembered as the frontman who bit the head off of a bat. March 5th, 1983, exactly 41 years ago to this day, Metallica made history when Cliff Burton made his debut as the band's newest bassist. It all went down at Stone, a legendary club in the San Francisco Bay Area, widely known as the birthplace of thrash metal. Metallica had just started making waves 6 months earlier and already had a small gathering behind them. The setlist was killer, featuring classics like Seek and Destroy, Whiplash, Jump in the Fire, and Am I Evil. On top of that, Metallica had so much confidence in Cliff already that they even gave him his first solo during the set, a sign of things to come. But that's not all. This show also happened to be the first time a young Kirk Hammett playing guitar for Exodus crossed paths with Metallica, foreshadowing his future role in the band. A historic night that would inevitably set the band up for their future successes. Cliff went on to record bass on Metallica's first 3 albums before his tragic death in 1986. But his legacy lives on, not just for his incredible bass skills, but also his infectious personality and love for life. His contributions to Metallica and bass guitar continues to inspire musicians of all types to this day. This skull face, has been a prominent mascot of the metal scene since 1984 when Dave Mustaine first sketched it up. His name is Vic Rattlehead. Vic is short for victim, and Rattlehead refers to Dave's mom telling him if he continued to headbang like he did, he would rattle something loose up there. Vic's design started off as an idea for a tattoo that would never come to be, but was later adopted as the logo for Megadeth's first demo and first t-shirt. But did you know that every aspect of his design has a reason behind it? And the song, The Skull Beneath the Skin, it outlines the torture that went into creating Vic. Prepare the patient's scalp to peel away. Metal caps his ears, he'll hear not what to say. Solid steel visor riveted across his eyes, iron staples close his jaw so no one hears his cries. Now you're drawn and quartered, your bones will make the X. Symbol stands for poison, and it's chained to your head. And as we fold your arms to make the holy cross, we cross the crucifix, religion has been lost. The skull beneath the skin, the skull beneath the skin. His next appearance was on Megadeth's first full-length album, but unfortunately, not exactly the way Dave had envisioned. The crazy story behind this disastrous cover is told in part 2. Dave Mustaine put a lot of thought into creating Vic Rattlehead. That's why in 1985, when Megadeth's first full-length album, Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good, was released, Vic was supposed to be front and center on the album. But upon receiving the first copies, Dave and the band were shocked by the image on the front cover. Dave's sketch was replaced with a poorly put together photograph made from Halloween decorations, tinfoil, and condiments. Needless to say, the band was not amused by the impromptu decision. Many stories exist as to why this happened, but the most common seems to be that the record label simply lost the original sketch and hired a cheap photographer to recreate the image. Fortunately, in 2002, upon a remastered re-release, the original image was given an upgrade and fulfilled Dave's original vision for the cover, nailing every very specific detail that we outlined in part 1 of this video.
Did you know Kerry King, the iconic guitarist of Slayer, was once a part of Megadeth? In 1984, fresh from his time with Metallica, Dave Mustaine was forming his new band. Already a thriving force in Slayer, Kerry King would be recommended to Mustaine as the second guitarist for his band. Despite Dave's desire for Kerry to stay permanently, Kerry saw this more as an opportunity to boost exposure to Slayer. Kerry played in Megadeth over the span of a few months and played their first 5 live shows, but ultimately decided he wanted to leave the band. Dave was not happy about this and sparked a legendary rivalry. Fast forward 26 years to 2010, both Slayer and Megadeth were acts on the Jägermeister tour. On the final show of the tour, Dave had asked if Kerry King would reunite with Megadeth for special performance of Rattlehead. This was an iconic moment in metal history that bridged metal legends in an unexpected display of unity, proving it's never too late to make amends, even for Slayer. Did you know that Iron Maiden's iconic mascot, Eddie, had humble beginnings as a papier-mâché mask that hung above the band's stage? While Iron Maiden's music was considered heavy and aggressive for the time, the band members' personalities were a bit more reserved. Recognizing this, their manager suggested they adopt a mascot to embody the spirit of their music. Based on a painting initially intended for a punk band, Derek Riggs was commissioned to expand on Ed the Head and bring Eddie to life. Riggs continued to design a plethora of Eddies for the band's album covers, leaving a mark on Iron Maiden's image. Despite various artists contributing their own renditions in the band's later years, Eddie's impact on fans has never wavered. Today, Eddie exists in countless forms and mediums, from towering mechanical replicas to video game characters. One thing is certain, there will never be a metal mascot as iconic as Eddie is for Iron Maiden.
Let's journey back to 1978, a pivotal year for metal. As punk music was rising in popularity, metal needed to step up to compete. Enter Judas Priest with their game-changing album, Killing Machine. Now, if you're in the US and feeling confused, don't worry, you're spot on. Killing Machine is known as Hell-Bent for Leather in the States. Why the switch? Well, amidst rising gun violence, the band faced backlash over the album's original title, even risking radio airplay and record store sales. But the name change turned out to be a blessing. Hell-Bent for Leather perfectly captured the album's gritty vibe and paved the way for Judas Priest's iconic leather-clad image, complete with metal spikes. This album didn't just get a name change in the US, it was a game change, redefining metal sound and style, and paved the way for Judas Priest to become the true metal legends they are today.